My name is Aaron Chivitarese. This is the Growth Podcast, and I'm here with my guest today, Sony Sultani, who's a digital marketer with over 10 years experience, which I just can't wait to ask some awesome questions and pull some value from you. You're the founder of 120 over 80, which I'm curious to understand where that name came from. So welcome to the Growth Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks, Aaron.
Absolutely. So, Sony, tell us just a bit about yourself. Where'd you come from, a little bit of your background so we can get to know you.
Yeah, so, I'm a digital marketer. I did my schooling, undergrad, grad at Northwestern, really paid attention to marketing communications, went to take classes all across. I wanted to study segmentation. I studied that. I went to Harvard to study marketing management for a class. I went there, and I just went everywhere, wherever information was going to be found that could help me in my career. So I owned a business prior to 120 over 80. I co-founded a company that did architectural renderings, animations, VR, and AR for the real estate industry. We sold that business last year.
That's interesting. Hey, so have you always been an entrepreneur, or did you start out, working jobs for people, or have you always been an entrepreneur?
No, I never considered myself someone who's going to become an entrepreneur. I actually didn't see myself as one. I've always been more of the I like to serve people type. I just never saw myself in this space. So I did start my career working for someone, and my family is filled with entrepreneurs. They have several businesses. All my aunts and uncles have businesses. I've kind of seen that growing up. And when the opportunity presented itself, I had this idea, and I wanted to just pull the trigger. I just went for it. And surprisingly, you find out that entrepreneurship's not the way you imagine it to be.
That's very true. It's a roller coaster. So let's talk about that for a moment before we get any further, because this is a transitional moment for a lot of people, right? A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to be my own boss, and I can create my own hours, and I can live this freedom lifestyle and travel, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now I'm working 80 hours a week and I'm dead tired. But the difference is you're working on your own stuff. So there's a level of energy you get from working on your own dream rather than someone else's dream. But it's not easy to push through that pain. So explain to us a little bit about your transition. How did you decide to go all in on it? And what were some of the roadblocks and some of the resistance that came up that you got through, and how'd you do that?
It's funny that you say, what were some of the roadblocks and some of the resistance? It felt like every morning you wake up, entrepreneurship, I think, can be summed up in this real cool visual, right? It's literally you wake up and you're destined to hit a wall throughout your day. And you're an entrepreneur when you look at that wall and you go, okay, I'm gotta go around it. I gotta dig a hole under it. I gotta jump over it, or I just gotta slam my head through it and just get through this wall today. That's how every day felt like as an entrepreneur. So it's kind of funny, like you say, how did I get through this? It felt like every moment was getting through it. It was always something. And you said something like, people have this perspective, like, you get to be your own boss. But the reality is, when you're an entrepreneur, every client is your boss. Every employee you have feels like your boss, because you're working for so many people with so many needs. And if you've got investors, they're your boss. So now you've kind of just traded one boss for several thousand. It's kind of an interesting, surreal experience, but the difference is you feel great, right? Like you wake up, you're inspired, and you want to keep going. And I always wondered about that from my previous bosses and other entrepreneurs. How do they get inspired? Because they're constantly having to give people, the inspiration they need to get up and do their job. And I always wondered where they get that from. And it's interesting as an entrepreneur where I found it. And it was all the other entrepreneurs, podcasts like yours, you're just seeking other people who are going through this and going, okay, they did it, I can do this. And you're just constantly seeking inspiration. So I find that interesting. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So when you're going through these, and by the way, to the listener who's hearing us say, we're not speaking in past tense, right?
Yeah.
The journey is now. It's tomorrow. It's it'll never, literally never ends. The more influence and the bigger you grow your business, your company, the more impact you have, the bigger your problems become also, right? So that
Right.
wall becomes thicker and bigger, and you go to dig a hole under it, but all of a sudden there's like an underground wall that's been built there now because, the problem's getting bigger. So you're always facing these. It never goes away. This is an interesting thing that happens in the entrepreneur game. So I'm curious to get your take on it. How do you stay in the energy and in the tension, let's say, to keep moving through that wall? You wake up and you're like, Jesus, this wall again in front of me. God, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. And then tomorrow again, it's happening again. And this never ends. So what goes on internally? Do you have an internal dialogue? Do you have a routine? Do you have something that pumps you up, gives you energy? How do you do that day to day as an entrepreneur?
I think everyone has to find a couple of pieces of solitude for themselves. And the first one is, where do you find calmness in the middle of a storm? For me, those are walks. I like walking on my own, whether it's, just walking in just complete silence. If that gets to be much, then I'll go open up my phone, listen to music on some AirPods, or I'll play Pokemon. I mean, anything that will just get me away from whatever it is I have to deal with. Or at work, what I would do is, if I had a big problem to solve, I'd start cleaning. That was my way of dealing with the problem without thinking of the actual problem at hand. Right? I'll go grab the Fabuloso from the box and start spraying the tables and just start cleaning. It was just everyone knew, I think, around me that I got something in my head. I got to sort it out. So that's just my way of doing it. But that's just when things got heavy and things got stressful. But like on the day-to-day, seeking inspiration was really I love listening to TED Talks. I love listening to commencement speeches. I always find them to get me re-energized, especially listening to someone who says something. It will trigger like a sense of inspiration in me, and that'll just drive me forward.
I see. Yeah, I got you. I'm very similar, actually. I enjoy going for a walk, listening to other podcasts of people speaking about inspirational stories or difficulties they've gone through, and knowing that they weathered the storm, right? They got past that wall. Just hearing that other people face walls just like you do gives you a sense of, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. And for me, that helps me a lot as well. Hey, and
sometimes it's, for me, it's a sense of belonging, because when you're an entrepreneur, you get this sense of loneliness. You're really not friends with all your employees. You're there. You're sharing in an experience, but you're not on the same plateau. You're kind of in a different headspace all the time. And so for me, it's just a sense of belonging. Like, oh, I do belong in a group.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. So, what having a support system around you, say a business infrastructure, staff and everything, is one thing. And then having a community, maybe you're in a mastermind, right? Or maybe you're in a group of entrepreneurs who get together and chat about their businesses, and they're on that same level and they're entrepreneurs. Also just reading books and consuming content from other entrepreneurs to hear their stories and things, extremely beneficial. Hey, even if it's not a direct, you're still in that zone. Do you have any resources that you like to share with us? Books or favorite people that you follow or anything like this?
I do. YouTube's been my favorite. Now, I'll crack open a book every now and then, but they're usually not business books. They're not usually from other entrepreneurs. In general, I will read things that are related to my industry just to keep up. Like, I'm just reading a book by Andy Crestodano about content right now. A phenomenal professor, and great wisdom in that book, and it helps me kind of keep up with the industry. And I'll read books about digital marketing. But if I really wanted to gain more about what's going on and being inspired, it's YouTube. And I usually go to those snippets of, people speaking. I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger the other day about not having a plan B. I really like that. He's absolutely right. You shouldn't have a plan B. You don't need a fallback if you're going to go after one thing. So I mean, like those little, tidbits on YouTube have been my source.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. I know the snippet you're talking about with Arnold. It's spot on. I love it. Absolutely. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about digital marketing, right? That's your strength, that's your forte. You're an expert in that field. And, for the listeners and the viewers out there of the Growth Podcast, obviously we're all in this space. Like we're all building content. We're all consuming content. We're all creating businesses in the digital era. It's the information age is here. The partnership age is here. Everybody's online. It's all about content and digital marketing, getting your message out, creating value, sales. It's all done digitally, right? So talk to us a little bit about, how did you come into your current sort of business direction? How did that sort of unfold? And your company's the 120/80. I'm curious to understand what that's all about. What's up with that name, and tell us a bit about that.
All right, we'll tackle the name first.
Okay.
What 120/80, if you don't know, is most people don't always know it right when they hear it, but it's blood pressure. It's like the
yes, it is.
Right. And I don't know a lot about healthcare, and I know numbers change all the time. What's good, what's bad, but growing up, I remember if you had 120/80, you were good. Right. That was the atypical standard. And to me, I feel like a business is, the health of a business is a lot like the health of a person. Blood pressure is an interesting, measurement, because if you've got high blood pressure, you don't normally feel the symptoms right away. But it's hurting you over a period of time. And so that's why I really named it 120/80, is because we want to get your health back. And we know that just doesn't include one thing, right? Like people put all their dollars and cents into marketing into one different, one thing, and they believe in it. But like the health of your business isn't just one facet, for your own personal health. It's like, you got to eat right. You got to exercise. You got to sleep well. You got to, you've got to stress less. You've got to do all the things, to help your body out. And so in terms of marketing, it's not just, throwing a blog out there or, doing some paid media. It's a lot of different activities in digital. And so I kind of formulated this business really centralized around data. I noticed a lot of digital agencies got their start from various different avenues. Some were web design companies, and then they kind of started doing SEO, and then they started adding content into it, and then they just formulated into a digital agency, what I call a pseudo digital agency. And then the other companies who were really good at content and then went into web development, and kind of went down that route. And I like those routes. I really do. I think most of them have merit in the way that they've kind of gone through their journey. However, I wanted to start my company really centered around data and data sciences. I wanted to really be about analytics first, and then dive into paid media and creative later. And so that's kind of how 120/80s really started and has gotten its evolution.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Hey, I'm just thinking of it from my own perspective. Like when you're creating content and doing your various facets of the business, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. So you have one sort of side of the coin where people say you want to have omnipresence, right? You want to be everywhere. Okay. And then you have the other side of the coin where people say you want to be specific and specialize and really do well somewhere, and then start branching out. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the first business I had that was successful really started off as a company that did everything at one time, right? At the beginning, we started doing, we had a product, we did architectural, we did renderings, right? But we did it for everything. We did 3D computer graphics for broadcast. We did it for products. We did it for architecture. We did it for interiors. We did it for furniture. We did automotive. That's kind of how we got our start. But in doing it that way, we learned what we were good at, what was, what we can make money with, and what we could do that others have trouble competing with us with, right? And so what we landed with, a few years into it, we landed in a niche. We landed with hospitality interior design. That was really our niche. We were serving all the hotels and restaurants and cruise ships around the country, and design firms that dealt with that. So I think it's just a matter of, if you really know yourself and you know what you're good at, go for it. I mean, there's value there. But if you're not sure, then, I'm all for dipping your feet in the water and trying to discover who you are. It might cost you a little bit, and it's a little inefficient for sure, but you'll get a chance to see everything. And that's like, the difference between going to school and not, in the sense that when you go to school, you get to like kind of explore different things. When you start off broad and you get to like do a lot of different things, you get to learn what you're going to be good at and all of that. And then you realize quickly what you're good at is what clients see you as good at too, because they quickly want more of the same thing. So
yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah. So if you're just out there and you're starting out and you're not 100% sure what you're good at yet, or what you should be focusing on, maybe it's not a bad idea to go out and try many different avenues and different things, and sort of test the water and actually use the data from the marketplace and their reaction to your various actions to tell you what you're good at. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And then once you discover it, I'm a big believer in having a niche business, because that's how my last business was successful. Once we were niched, the benefit is, one, you get to charge a premium, you're a master, and you're very efficient, right? So not only do you get a chance to charge a premium because everyone sees you as a master of this one thing, and that you know it really well, but your margins also get better because you're doing the same thing over and over again. And while it gets redundant and boring at times, it is fascinatingly fulfilling, because you get to do your best work day in and day out, one that you're most comfortable with, one that you're going to be successful with. So
that's true. That's very true. Hey, very true. So how does one go about niching down? That's the big question.
For us, we did it in a way that I don't know if it was the right way, but we niched by asking the question, what is the hardest thing we do that we can do? And, at the time, my co-founder said, the hardest thing we do is working with interior designers to do interior renderings. And I said, why is that the hardest? He's like, because they want every material in there to be precise. Everything is custom. And it takes a very long time, and there's a lot of revisions. And so that's when I said, that's where we're going to plant our feet. We're going to niche ourselves right here. And of course, at the time, my co-founder kind of looked at me like going, that's crazy, right? That's counterintuitive. And I said, it is counterintuitive, but think about it this way. If you're experiencing that, if you are experiencing this is the hardest client, this is also the client that most of your competitors don't want to engage with. So let's be the company that not only engages with them, but understands them in a way that no one else does, and charges in a way no one else can. And let's kind of take over that market. We knew the cost of entry was high, and the barrier of knowledge was going to be high. So we thought it was a great place to plant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a super potent point you made there. Say that again. Just say that. Wrap that up again. High barrier, expensive. That's why you entered it. You planted your flag there on purpose. Now, this is counterintuitive to sort of the business, the very scratching the surface of business. You would think you would want to stay away from that because it might be too expensive, too much work,
Yep.
But there's a very strong reason you do that, and you do it, and you're successful because of it. So just go a touch deeper on maybe your thought process behind that, and how you would explain that to someone who might not grasp it?
Okay, so what, our thought process around picking the niche and industries that we wanted to serve was really the niche that was going to present the greatest challenge for us to do the work, had which meant that for our competitors, it was also the greatest challenge, which meant that they didn't want to just jump into something like that. And that that created a wall between us and our competitors. We wanted to go where they didn't want to go.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then once we went there, we learned how to be efficient there. And because we were doing the hardest work we can for the one niche that required us to be the most innovative and best at what we do, it was also very easy after that to branch out.
Yeah, absolutely. You're setting your base in the most potent area of the whole structure, right?
Yep.
You're going to that place where most people are like, oh, no, that's way too crazy over there. You're like, oh, no, actually, that's what we're really good at.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're really good at. So from here, we can just go out and you, like you say, you become efficient and effective in that area. And all of a sudden now you're smashing your competition. It's not even comparable. That's a great lesson, man. I really appreciate that one. That's really strong. Good. Okay. So I was perusing your content earlier today, and I noticed you have written in a few places, "We're hiring." Very bold. So what are you hiring for? What's going on here at 120 over 80?
So this is also a strategy that I use
Okay.
for all those entrepreneurs that are wondering when is the right time to hire, when is the right time to look for talent. I'm going to tell you the right time is when talent presents itself, right? This was probably the riskiest thing I did. At my last business, it was born in the 2008, 2009 recession. We actually started the business at the end of 2006. In 2007 and 2008, we saw the decline happening. In 2009, it was as bad as it could be for us. But you know what was great? There was a ton of really great talent and students coming out of college with straight A's and all the things that you'd want in a resume available. I didn't have work though. So, you could have we just experienced the same situation in reverse. We all had a lot of work just a few years ago, but no access to talent because the unemployment was so low that this presents an opportunity to find great people. I don't necessarily have the work to place people, but I want as many people knowing that we're hiring and in my atmosphere, because when someone great comes through, I'm willing to take the risk and invest. And it may mean that for 6 months, I don't get to make money on this situation. But the truth is, one, I get to learn from someone great, right? Two, we're at a place where we need processes and procedures set up. And, who else for that, to be developed than in a slow time by someone who has been successful in their career, right? And when this recession, this lull, I call it, I don't even call it a recession right now. I don't know what they're calling it, but I call it a lull right now. Kind of starts going in the opposite direction, and we start seeing positive traction. Mm-hmm. My company is most poised to take on great accounts, right?
I love it.
So you see that we're hiring. I'm technically always hiring, because with great people comes great clients oftentimes, and it also gives you the confidence, gives sales confidence to go out there and talk to clients and say, look, we've got you. We've got the best team we could possibly have right this very second, and we're going to take care of you. So it's all about building that structure and that confidence and that foundation to really be successful with clients. We have this value at our company called mudita. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but it's a Buddhist saying, and it really means that we want our clients to be successful. For us, that's what it means. It's all about how successful we can make our clients, and that's where we derive our joy from. I really get happy every time a client gets a new lead. Is like me watching my favorite sports team, throw up a 3-pointer or kick it into a net or whatever, scoring. For us, every time a client gets a lead, that's how we feel. We get excited. We're like, oh, look at that. We just brought that to their table, right? And if you're going to do this career in marketing, I mean, this is the way to do it. You got to be happy when you bring up. It's not just about retainers and all of that. It's got to feel great when you bring a client a lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. I couldn't agree more. So what is it you offer your clients? Lead generation obviously is one. Tell us a bit about your services.
So I like staying in B2B. My family has had a lot of B2B businesses growing up. I feel most confident and comfortable in that arena. I've owned a B2B company. So I know it from the ownership standpoint as well. I know cash flow is a remarkably funny thing. Not everything can be bucketed into, here's a retainer, this is what you pay. Everything has to be flexible when you're in B2B. We know content is important in B2B. We know thought leadership is important. We know reaching out to your client base and sales are important. We know paid media. I mean, it's all really important. But we also know that you have X amount of dollars to spend, and you're going to have to invest that in different places. So we let data guide be the direction of where we invest, right? So if we see an event correlation like blogs having good correlation to conversion, bringing leads, then we invest more in content, or we invest more in types of contents that we know is leading to conversions. We'll invest in paid media if the cost per acquisition is low enough so that that we can make money on that, and we know how many leads it takes to bring. So the types of service we do data and analytics. We'll set up conversions. We'll set up a dashboard. We'll do all of those pieces that you do for data insights and direction finding for data. We build on that. We do paid media. We're very good at Google Ads right now. That's probably our strongest point. We do LinkedIn lead generation because we believe that a good B2B company needs a great network. There's no better security than having a great network, right? When times are down, you reach into your network and you say, hey, I could use some help. But I think BDRs have a problem in the way they approach building a network. They think in the short term, they think it's all about selling to them. It's not. It's being a resource to them right now, and over a period of time, building that trust and building that friendship. So they go, hey, what do you do exactly? Oh yeah, I definitely need that. Can you hook me up? Yeah, I can take care of you, is getting to that place. We also do a lot of earned media. So we'll do some SEO, but really we believe SEO in the B2B side is done through great content, human-centered content, not SEO written content. I mean, if you're writing something, make sure it's being written to be read by somebody who finds value, right? I think the SEO companies get it wrong. They write these, content pieces, and I can't get through the first paragraph without chucking it to the wall, right? I want content that I feel like, oh my God, adds value to my life. I don't care if it ranks great. I just want it to add value. So, that's our approach to content. We also think that there's value now for B2B in ranking high for image search, video search, doing things like podcasts, doing things that are, pillar content, great big pieces of content that really drive home, a certain message or certain topic. And so we do all of that, and you tie it all together in a marketing automation system. So we're HubSpot agency partner, we're SharpSpring agency partner, we partner with Active Campaign. So there's tiers of expenses, different types of expenses you could have. It's not like we're doing the most expensive thing or the most inexpensive one. We have tiers for our clients because we know not everyone falls into. And then we tie it all back into CRM management. So we do sales funnels, and we'll take care of flow and all of that into a CRM, so that, because it's important to me to know that all the marketing effort we did led into a win. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, I don't want to be spewing out all the effort I did to a client at the end of the month, and the client say, yeah, that's great, you guys did a lot of work and I appreciate that, but we didn't really see a lift in our revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, that kills me. So I got to know that piece. I have to know that piece in order to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a full, I mean, you literally, you just broke down the entire digital marketing game in about 5 minutes there, right? So
yes,
that's what it's really all about, and guys like yourself who understand that whole cycle and can provide all of the pieces there, and especially going into the niche, into the most difficult part, and then drawing out the best of people, presenting it to the world, right? And then bringing them in leads and helping them close clients and sales through automation and various things. I mean, this is the whole thing, right? And it's so difficult to do right? There's so many people that try to do it and they just fail, and that's a fair enough, people try things and fail all the time. It's normal. But if you can do this right and you can really provide value and actual results to your client base, that's a wonderful service. So Sonny, we lost you on video here, but that's okay. What if the listeners, there you are, if the listeners want to come and you're back, if the listeners want to come find you, social media, they want to look you up, check you out, check out your services and things, where can they go?
Well, right now they can just call me. I'm more than happy to take a phone call. It's 312-757-5555. I don't need to be scheduled in. Just give me a phone call. I'd be more than happy to chat, even if it's, hey, I'm thinking about doing some digital marketing. Do you have some tips? I'd be more than happy to hang on a phone call with somebody who really wants to help. If they want to look me up soon enough, I should have a website. It'll be 120 over 80.com. So 120over80.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. I love it. This is the most direct connection you could possibly. Just give me a call. Keep it real. I'm always hiring, and give me a call. I love your strategy. It's amazing. It's so straight up. Very good. All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, Sonny. I appreciate your time. I love what you're doing, and this is the type of service that people actually really need if they want to succeed. And it's rare to find people who have the whole thing sort of figured out end to end, and that are willing to go the extra mile for their clients, which you clearly are. So that's amazing, man. Congrats on your success, and thanks for being a guest on the Growth Podcast.
All right. Thank you so much, Aaron.